We're here with Paul Kelcher of Velocity Waterworks in Appleton, Wisconsin. Paul, thanks for being here with us.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, it's always good to see you. Paul, briefly, tell me a little bit about the history of Velocity and how long you guys have been in the car wash industry.
Oh, man. Me personally, I've been in the car wash industry for many years. I'm probably in the 25-year range. We have a big crew of people that we have experience from the equipment side to the chemistry side and a large amount on water treatment side as well. So when we came into the industry about 4 years ago or so, we came in with a real wealth of experience. So we could apply our water treatment to the equipment side. We could apply it to the chemistry side. And the other part that we have is we've had people that have been really involved in the water treatment industry for years as well.
Oh, very nice. So once you guys get a specimen or a sample from a site, and you then what do you do? How do you go about figuring out how it needs to be treated?
Well, we can kind of do it in there's different treatment systems for different things in the water. So, for example, the hardness, we're gonna size a properly sized water softener for that application. And when we're sizing a water softener, we're really looking at two main factors. The first one is kind of a simple one. That's the flow rate of the softener. So basically, if you figure out all your total soft water applications, that whether you're softening all the water for the car wash, or if you're just going to be doing like your chemicals and feeding the RO system, we'll size that application. We'll size the water softener and to ensure it has a high enough flow rate to meet all your flow demands in your car wash. The other one is the capacity, and this one kind of gets we need a little more information for it. The first one we need to know is the water hardness. The second one we need to know is give a rough idea of how many total gallons of soft water you're going to use per day. So if you have a site that's got, say, 10 grain hard water and you're going to use 15,000 gallons of soft water per day, you need a softener that has 150,000 grains of capacity. So we like to size a softener to ensure that it has enough capacity to get you through a full day of washing. And that's just because, it's a mechanical piece in an equipment room. At some point down the road, if you ever have an issue with a softener, you have enough capacity that, if you look at a water softener, you have two tanks and the tank on the left is online today, but you're having a problem with tank B, just manually press the regeneration button on tank A and that's up and running again for you tomorrow. You're not in a crisis mode to keep your soft water system up and running.
All right.
So the other one I would say is that, with the carbon filter, we're talking about the chlorine, the amount of chlorine in the water. And the carbon filter works totally different than a water softener. A water softener works on an ion exchange process where water can flow through the media bed faster than what it can in a carbon filter. So sizing a carbon filter, we're always talking about, we got to make sure that the water flows through the carbon at a slow enough pace that the carbon can do its job to remove all the free chlorine out of the water. So, people always look at the two things very similar, and they are. I mean, they look identical, but they function in completely different ways. So, and then the last one is the RO system. And again, it kind of goes to sizing the RO system where you're going to be moving all the TDS out of the water. And you basically what you're trying to do is size that properly for the car wash. So you want to make sure that, for example, that depending on, you're always looking at different factors about that. You're looking at how much RO water you're using per wash. How many hours you're open per day, the amount of holding tank capacity. So if you can factor in all of that, all those numbers, you can come up pretty quickly. And we do it a lot where we help people size the RO system they need based upon how many hours they're open and how much holding tank capacity that they have.
All right. Sometimes I hear guys say, well, they have a couple of different sources that they get their water from. They might be getting it from city for a month and then maybe from the county from a month. How often should you test your water then? And where in the car wash should you draw the water from to test it? Where are you going to get the best bang for your buck?
Well, if it's city water or well water, test it as close as you can to right where it comes in from either supply. And I would always recommend testing the water. If you have a softener, testing the water pretty frequently. If you're investing in the water softener, make sure it's doing its job. With our softeners, anything like any softener 1.5 inches or larger, there's actual sample ports integrated they're cast right into the valve. So you can actually test the sample of the water right at the softener. So you're not looking 30 feet down the equipment room trying to find, I think this is a soft water line. It's a soft water line, so it's right there. And the benefit of that is that sometimes, say, for example, you have 12 grain hard water coming in from the city, and you test the water 30 feet down the line and you're getting 8 grain hard water there. Well, that tells us something. But it also tells us something, certainly, if you're testing it, that same 12 grain hard water, and you're testing it right at the softener and you have 0 grain hard water. So somewhere we're getting some water mixed up with our soft water line. So there's a lot of things to look into.
Once we install a water softener, what's the ongoing maintenance to a water softener look like? The one that everybody enjoys the water softener, and that's the salt. No one loves to do it, but it is it's an important part of it. Outside of that, just testing the water. That's it. If there's really no ongoing maintenance other than that, unless you run into an issue. But if you're monitoring it and maintaining salt, you should have years and years of happy soft water life. Let's talk RO for a minute. How many gallons of water does it actually take to make a gallon of RO water? I hear different numbers from different manufacturers.
There's a lot of variables that go into it. And we always tell everybody this, is that it depends on the quality of the water feeding the RO system. If you're running say, for example, a site that has soft water and the carbon filter is functioning properly and it's got lower TDS, say 150 TDS, something like that, you can run, with our system, you can run it up to a 75% recovery rate. So that would be for every 10 gallons of product water, you would have around 4 gallons of reject. So, but again, it varies from site to site. And that's why we always say, let's take a sample of the water, we'll test it, and we'll not only tell you what you need for water treatment, but we'll set it up properly for you.
Gotcha. And then when you're sizing an RO, there's an inverse relationship, right, between storage size and the size of the unit that's required?
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of trying to touch on that earlier, but say for example, a site is using 8 gallons of RO water per car, and it's going to wash 800 gallons or wash 800 cars per day. That's 6,400 gallons of water that we need to make. If you have 1,500 gallons of RO storage tank capacity, we need to make up for 4,900 gallons of RO water over however many hours you're open. Say it's 12 hours. So we just need to double that 4,900 gallons. So you're going to need an RO system that can produce it. Yeah, exactly. And you just kind of make sure you at least have a 10,000 gallon per day RO system. So
why do RO units size themselves with gallons per day? Everything else in our industry is gallon per minute.
Honestly, I don't know. I would think it has something to do with the membranes, because the membranes are sized on a gallon per day production. They're sized based upon. Yeah, the membranes are always sized based upon chlorine-free soft water feeding them at 77 degrees. So I'm sure that has something to do with it. You put more membranes on, you multiply. One membrane can produce 2,400 gallon per day. 2 is a 4,800 gallon per day.
Right, I got you. All right, well, we know we need soft water in the car wash, especially for chemistry. What about hard water? Is there any applications where hard water is better suited for the car wash?
Yeah, and sometimes I kind of let the chemical experts handle a lot of that. But there are definitely some applications for hard water. When we're rinsing the vehicle off, hard water seems to break down the soap a lot better. Sometimes people are using it for waxes and sealants and things like that, because it has a higher surface tension. So it actually, you look at it on a vehicle surface, it actually beads up better than soft water. Soft water is kind of they always kind of say it makes water wetter where it's on the vehicle, and it kind of spreads out more across the surface of the vehicle, where hard water will bead up more, so it's easier to get off the vehicle.
Water is generally an underrated part of the clean car equation. What are some of the benefits of quality water in the wash process?
Man, there's a lot. There's a lot of benefits. From reduced labor from wiping the vehicles, reduced operating costs, where your chemistry you can use a lot less chemistry with soft water versus hard water. Just increasing the equipment life, where nozzles get plugged with hard water or water. Your water heaters certainly love to have soft water feeding as opposed to hard water. It's just a better overall wash experience for the customers, and you're providing a better quality wash when you're utilizing the water and the quality of the water that can be provided.
What are some of the elements that we find in city water, even well water? A lot of guys are fortunate enough to have a well on their property they can tap into. What's in that water that we got to get out before we can use it to wash a car?
Well, we always love to tell everybody, look, send us a sample of the water. We'll test it. And at that point, we're totally responsible for getting the quality of water that you need for your wash. Because at that point, we know what's in it. So a lot of the things that we're looking for is we want to know the hardness of the water. We want to know what the TDS of the water is. The pH of the water is an important one. If it's well water, sometimes you run into iron a little bit more than you certainly would than if it was city water. The total chlorine in the water, or we like to call it the free chlorine in the water, the turbidity, and a lot of times cities are putting different things in the water, from orthophosphates to alum, anything to protect their piping in their systems that certainly can have some negative effects on RO membrane. So.
All right. Well, it sounds like a lot of big things coming out of Appleton, Wisconsin. I don't think I've ever said that before in my life.
I've been here my whole life. I don't think I remember saying it either.
Paul Kelcher, Velocity Waterworks, we appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.